and cutting-edge technologies being used in the video games industry, as well as the global trends and the future of the gaming industry with the focus on the role of AI. We hope to provide a comprehensive overview of the current landscape and the future possibilities of this industry. But before we enter the discussion, let me tell you that today we're honored. We are going to discuss over these four main topics: role of AI in shaping the future of the video games industry, ethical and legal considerations of AI-driven video games, collaborations and strategic partnerships in the AI and video games ecosystem, and the last topic of this session will be about the cutting-edge AI technologies and their impact on the game industry. So let me tell you that if you have any questions during the session, feel free to write them down in the chat box. We're gonna open the chat box, and we're gonna read your questions there and select a few to ask them at the end of the session in the Q&A part. Today, we're honored to have 5 outstanding designers and developers as our panelists. I can see them in the chat box, and I would like to welcome you all, guys. Jay Patak, who is a sound engineer from India. Amir Hossein Etaat, who is a game developer and co-founder of Mars Studio from Canada. Fateme Ali Kha, who is an AI product designer from Iran. Nairaj Sangani, who is a game designer from India, and Hamid Karimian, who is a game developer from Canada. I would like to welcome you all and thank you so much for joining us for this panel. So, Amir Hossein, if you can hear me, I would like to start the discussion with you. Could you please go ahead and introduce yourself and just briefly give us your introduction and your vision on the topic?
Sure, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Amir, and actually I have studied Master of Computer Science at Concordia University, and actually I have a Mars Studio as a co-founder, and we are working on the VR and AI and some just casual games recently. And actually I'm going to talk about do you have my picture? Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Okay. So I was talking about the AI today, and for the first impression, I would like to talk about the, for example, imagine stepping into the virtual world that just watching is very different from watching it on the screen. Actually, for example, imagine you are driving a Ferrari, feeling the wind and in your head and roaring of the engine, even though you are just sitting in just a very simple chair. And driving a Ferrari is something, as you know, only a few people can afford it. But with the AI and virtual reality, actually um, you can experience it as a very affordable and very different behavior that you have. For example, AI, that's like a super smart computer, is making a video games more realistic than ever. And for example, imagine racing a Ferrari, as I said, it's in the virtual world, and that AI makes it very different, and you can experience it without any money in the just very simple game. And you can experience all the things that a very expensive car that have, and it can uh, smell and just remove all the limitation from you. And we are that's the special headset that actually lets you um, see and feel the virtual world. It's like another world, but instead of just looking, you can step inside and feel it. So with the VR and the AI, you can feel a Ferrari experience and many pleasures in this world. And in the future, definitely we will see all these things will be happen. But it's not just about the driving. I'm not talking about driving. Just imagination and your experience on other type of the world. For example, in the jungle, you can feel the humidity and heating the sounds and the nature. And all of these things will be happen in with the actually AI and um, this VR in the very just near future. For example, if you swimming on the oceans or, for example, water, playing with the dolphins, all of these will be happen, and it's very easy with the AI in the future. And this is very incredible, I think. And imagine going on the trip or in the rainforest of the Amazon or climbing on the Mount Everest. All of these can be happen in the just very simple video game with the AI. And actually, um, just for the part of this lecture, I'm going to just talk about what actually these technology can effect on the future and the game and also metaverse. VR and AR and actually augmented reality can changing the way we experience the future world. And actually, they are opening up possibilities that were once and only dreams, making them available to everyone. The future of gaming with AI and VR is full of responsibility and possibilities. For just we can do whatever we can, and just in the right real world, we can experience and imagine and the adventures of in the future and also virtual worlds. It's a future where anything is possible, and I think um, just the only limitation in this AI is our imagination. And that's a pretty exciting future that we will have in the VR and actually um, AI world. Yeah, what do you think?
Thank you so much. We will discuss it later in this panel. And I would like you, Jay, if you can hear me, please go ahead, introduce yourself, and give us your vision on the topic, Jay. We can't hear you. Jay, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear
Okay,
me now?
your voice is so big for me.
Okay.
If possible, could you please increase your volume or speak a
Just
little
a
bit
second.
louder, and also turn on your video if it's possible. Thank you.
I actually don't have a video camera. That's the thing.
That's fine. That's fine. That's okay.
So
Go
can
ahead and introduce yourself. And what do you think about this topic and this session? Go ahead.
actually this topic is very vast, and like uh, 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 like the previous presenter, he said you have to use it very carefully, and you have to be very responsible while using AI, because there are uh, lots of disadvantages as well as advantages into it. Like people can use it to create fake accounts, fake personalities online, and as you can see, there are so many companies which who are using currently the um, uh, like for the promotion of their page, they are using uh, generated people or generated personalities to promote their products and uh, lots of other things. And like and in video game industry, I guess this is going to be a very helpful thing, because if you don't have a lot of people to fill in the places, you can use this technology to to bridge the gap between between those positions.
Yes, thank you so much, Jay. And so, Hamid, if you're in the chat, I would appreciate it if you can go ahead and introduce yourself and give us your vision on the topic. Hello.
Can you
We
guys
can't
hear
hear
me?
you.
Yeah, nice to see you guys all. For me, it's been almost more than 20 years. I have been working in industry, both in animations, games, also VFX. Uh, from past 3-4 years, I have been involved in studying AI, understanding what's going to be next with it. So yeah, I try to learn it as much as possible, try to understand you know what it's going to affect our day-to-day life. So, and I find it very, very interesting topic, very much things to learn, lots of other things to know, endless possibilities when it comes to creativity. So yeah, it's very, very fascinating topic on its own, but if you combine it with games, it would be amazing.
Thank you so much. We will actually delve into this topic later. So, Naraj, if you are in the chat, I would appreciate it if you can please go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you think about this topic.
Everyone.
Hello and
Uh,
welcome.
doing- yeah, so hi, I'm Neeraj. I have been working as a game designer for a little over 12 years now. And I've been very excited for the use of AI and how it will shape the way we make games. So I have some, I'm going to be playing a little bit of devil's advocate tonight as well on certain things with regards to AI. But for me personally, I think AI is it's a great tool to speed up your workflow, a great tool to iterate things faster. So it's not really something that can replace a human being. It cannot replace human ingenuity, I don't think, at least not yet. uh, but I think it's a really good tool to skip out a lot of human brain errors, brain glitches. So I think that would be something that AI would be really useful for. And I'm really excited to be here and share the stage with all of you amazing folks, and maybe give some uh, give some insight as to how AI and game design works together. So yeah, great to be here, and look, yeah, let's get to it. Yeah, yeah, that's it. I think we can move to the next panelist.
Yeah, thank you so much. So let's enter the first topic of this discussion. And also, Naraj will present his presentation later. So the first topic for this panel is about the role of AI in shaping the future of the video games industry. AI has revolutionized various aspects of game development. AI-driven algorithms enable developers to create games that adapt the player's behavior, in offering a level of immersion and interactivity that was previously unimaginable. So the integration of AI in game design not only enhances the gameplay, but also opens up new avenues for creativity and storytelling. So in this session and in this topic, we will explore how AI is influencing game development, player engagement, and the overall gaming experience. So I would like to go back to you, Hamid, and ask this question: that how do you think has AI technology evolved in the video games industry over the past decade?
Actually, a lot. We we have been using AI for so many years, even before the past decades. The whole the topic of AI generated in 25 years ago. Firstly, it was mainly using in universities, and it was just a topic of research. But in past 10 years, it got involved in the gaming a lot, but not that much as an AI that we are knowing right now. We have been using AI a lot to making different elements in game to works in just not repetitive ways, but there was always lots of programming cheats, lots of human hand involved to that AI to work. The AI right now we are talking about, it's more like more like a, let's say, individual identity who learns things, who knows things, and those cheatings that we have been using a lot when it came to AI in the games development, those things are gone. And I'm going to use this form of explanation as AI as an individual identity a lot in later on in our conversation. But mainly the main use of AI, the biggest use of AI, let's say, in the games came from a publisher called Kiwali. They created this game name. Let's what was it? Right. The name was right. You guys can find it, and that was the main and the first one, the first company who actually used AI as a form that we are knowing right now in a game, and it brought the company a huge success. And from in past 1 year and two, that when the AI booming is happening, lots of companies starting to use it, but not that much. Space right now it's very young. It's not reliable that much. And when it comes to production, as what we know in the in the industry, production involves lots of comments, revisions, let's say art direction, technical direction. So to get what you have from first point to the end point that makes the director satisfied. Right now, AI at least at this point don't have that capacity of getting directions and comments and make it better. So it doesn't use that much, but it's getting the use case of it is getting more and more every day.
Thank you, Hamid. So the next question is with you, Niraj. If you can hear me, I would like to go back to you. So Niraj, what are the most significant AI-driven innovations currently being implemented in game development, and even in your job, in what you're doing? Is there any significant AI-driven innovation that you're using right now in your job?
So for me, primarily, the use case for AI goes back to data analysis and project planning. I think AI is really good at handling large scales of data. So, for example, when it comes to game design, right, there's a lot of numbers that need to be managed. If you're looking at a game, like I worked on this game called Dream Cricket, and in that game there would be a lot of different cricketers, and they would have like numerous stats, right? So now to make sense of some stats and to have a way to identify what stats would be useful where, how would you balance numbers, AI would be a really good tool to help us figuring out ways to do it faster. So so for example, I used to use a lot of Google Sheets to manage all these large scales of data. Uh, but when it came down to like processing that data, it would become a little difficult to do it manually. But we would make Google App scripts, which would help us speed up the process. And sometimes the even writing these scripts takes hours on end. But with AI, I can give it a task. I can tell it, okay, this is what I need to do. These are the way my sheets are designed, and then AI would be able to generate pseudocode or Google App script code for me, and I would use that then to kind of speed up my iteration times. So essentially, that is how I have been using AI. So that is one part, and the other part is for brainstorming. So like I have played tons of games in my life, right? Like so many games, but I still cannot store and recall as much information as the AI that we have right now can. Like it's not really like it's not real intelligence. Like it's narrow intelligence. It's not general intelligence yet, and it is I think AI is not smart. It's more. It's got a lot of information. To make sense of that information is where the human ingenuity comes in. So I think that's how we have been using AI, at least in game design. At least how I have been using AI in the past 2, 3, 4 years since it has kind of become more popularized. But apart from that, I think a lot of other ways that AI would be usable is for creating individual narrative experiences. But that is still something, a long discussion to be had on that. But yeah, this is my 2 cents about AI and game design.
Yeah, thank you so much, Naraj. So, Amir Hossein, if you're in the chat, I would like to ask the same question from you. So, how do you think that, what are those most significant AI-driven innovations in your job? And also, how do you think that these AI-driven innovations will enhance the player experience and engagement with the game?
Sure. The first point I would like to talk about the AI-powered NPC, which means the non-player characters. AI is driving the development of more believable and engaging NPCs. And these AI-driven characters can react dynamically to player actions and learn from their interactions and offer more impressive experience. And the second one I can talk about the procedural content creations, which means that AI algorithms right now and in future are being used to create the game levels, assets, and actually more entire actually the asset and all the things of the game that it needs. And this actually allows for creative variety, customization, and all these things can be happened by AI. And the third one, I can talk about the optimization and game balancing, which AI can analyze game very perfectly and identify the uh, game mechanisms and all these things can be happen. And actually, the last one, I would like to talk about the um, game experience from that AI can actually learn player preference and games difficulty and all these individual players can uh, and just experience and gaming personalized features that all these things can be happen with AI.
Thank you so much, Amir Hossein. So, Jay, if you're in the chat, let me know the same. Uh, how do you think that AI-driven innovations can affect the players' experience and engagement? And also, let me know that what are those potential risks that AI can cause for this industry as a sound engineer?
So talking about the potential risk, I would say that it is going to take most of the people jobs, but it will not completely replace humans, because you still need that human touch to it. And as Neeraj also said that uh, uh, like they can't replace it, and it doesn't have a brain of its own. It just collects the data and it gives you the result based on the data. uh, so we will need to make it more efficient if we wanted to work it in our favor. And so talking about the gameplay, uh, uh, so currently I have been playing a lot of games, and I see that the non-playable characters are not that interactive as they can be, and we can still use the AIs to make it more interactive when it comes to the conversation part. When you are interacting with the non-playable character or the NPC, they have only like two or three dialogues when you're trying to interact with them, and they just keep on repeating that over and over again. Or even if you try it with different NPCs or different characters in the games, they don't have a really much variety when it comes to that part. So we can optimize that part, I would say.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jay. So, Naraj, if you're in the chat, how do you think about this question? Also, I would like to ask you about um how might AI shape the future of storytelling and narrative design in video games, as you are a game designer?
I think I okay. It's like before that, I was going to say I disagree with the AI taking away jobs. I think rather than AI taking away jobs, I think it will be more about AI making certain jobs redundant, but at the same time, definitely creating new jobs. I think it's the same that happened with industrial revolution. It's the same that has happened with automation in manufacturing, and it will keep happening as the technology keeps advancing. New things will come in, old things will be phased out. So in the same vein, I think storytelling point of view and a narrative design point of view, AI is not going to be able to replace humans, but it will be more like a personal assistant than anything else. Because the way AI is right now, it is the large language model where it is just analyzing a bunch of data, and then based on a predictive text, right? It generates, and I'm talking about the written language model, not the stable diffusion related or image generation or video generation tools. So when it comes to text driven AI, for example, like chat gpt, right? Like so chat gpt 4.0 or even chat gpt 4 or any other chat gpt versions, right? Essentially they are just large language models where based on what you ask they will kind of analyze that and give you what would be the most relevant word soup. And this is where the AI can kind of show its unintelligence. I mean, it's not really intelligence. So this is where it starts hallucinating, and we've have seen this happen many times. Where if you are not sure about the topic that you are looking for, AI will start telling you wrong things, and if you are not if you're not good at that specific topic, you might take something that AI tells you as gospel, and that gospel and that absolute truthness of that data that AI gives you might really make you worse as at your job than improve it. So I think AI will definitely help improve storytelling and narrative design, where it will help you analyze and write things in a certain way. For example, if I want to, if I have a style, a specific style of writing something, and if I want to create quests in that style, I will have to train my own language model, which would be based on, like, the current, like, GPT-4o, right, for example. And then I take that GPT-4o, I superimpose my specific style of writing, I train AI, this is how I write, this is what I want, and then I can speed up my workflow a lot. So basically how it will work is, if I tell AI that, hey, after I train the AI in a certain way, I tell it, okay, I want to quest where I want the player to go and fetch something, and I want it to be written by one of my characters who is in this area of my game. And then I will also define, okay, this area of my game has these kind of people, these are the dialects that they talk with, these are the words, these are the verbal tics, all the different things that describes the people in that specific area. And then the npc, the description of that npc that I will give the AI, that, okay, this is how the npc in that game is going to function. Then the AI will be able to give me some good results. And it will do at least 60-70% of what I needed to do. And then the rest 30% is where I can come in and take over and like polish it. But it will never be able to give me the exact thing I'm looking for, but it will definitely help me get there faster. So it's like, it's like how you would do Google reverse image search. Like, you're looking for something like this, and you go to Google and you do a reverse image search, it will give you a bunch of different images, and then you can pick what you want from that, and go ahead with your day. I think AI is also in the same way, like a large scale, very intelligent, very informative, not intelligent, but very informative search engine that can speed up a lot of your work. So yeah, so that is how I think narrative design and storytelling will be useful. Another thing I think where AI would be really useful is to figure out if you have left some plot holes, or if you have left some plot threads hanging and not closed off whatever you needed to close off. So I think that is also where AI might come into play, and speed up the process of making sure that you don't make mistakes, grammatic mistakes, or contextual mistakes. I think AI can definitely help with that as well. So the, yeah, data analysis primarily, that is where AI will be useful.
Thank you so much, Naraj. So I see a question in the chat box from Amin Hussein. Um, I see Amin asking that, can you please explain more about the use of AI to improve the gaming experience? So I would appreciate it if you answer this question, Amin Hussein. Also, I got another question for you as well, which is about those emerging global trends in adoption of AI in video games industry. I would appreciate it if you could answer these two questions at the same time. Thank you.
Sure. Actually, the use of AI is, I think, the China and Japan are embracing AI in gaming. Chinese developers are heavily investing in AI-driven NPC and potential procedural content creation and generation. And in the America and North America and Europe, Western markets are also heavily investing on AI, and actually these areas are very popular and very uh, lovely for the investors. About the question, I think the last question you asked, I just try to explain that. I said that actually I think the first one is very important, which is NPC, and I said that it's the non-player characters that AI is driving the development of more believable and engaging NPC that AI is handles. And imagine the characters can learn from the games, and I think it's fantastic. and also content creations. As I told you, I said that in the it's very very awesome that algorithms are being used to generate and create the game levels. And I think and I believe that small studios can use the AI for just creating the content and these days, and it's very good opportunity. And I believe that if someone today starts using AI in game industry, it's spectacular and it's fantastic, I think. And the last thing, and I think the game can use AI for balancing and optimization. And I said that analyze the gameplay and data and identify just a mechanism of a game that's just incredible, and actually it's awesome. And the last thing I forgot to tell, it's a game design, which is AI tools are increasingly use the early stage of the right now is the earliest stage of game design, but in the future you can see AI will definitely help the game design, which is very very important in game engagement. As you know, that if you want to someone engage on your game, you should have a very good game design in your game, and AI can handle it. And I think it's a very great opportunity here for game development for using AI. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Amir Hussein. So let's talk more about the second topic, which is about the ethical and legal considerations in AI-driven video games. So as AI continues to evolve, it brings with it it brings it a lot of ethical and legal challenges. The use of AI in video games raises important questions about data privacy, intellectual property, and the potential for bias in AI-driven algorithms. In addition, as AI-generated content becomes more prevalent, the lines between human and machine creativity blur, leading to complex copyright issues. So this session, we are trying to address these critical concerns, which we aim to provide insights into the legal frameworks and ethical considerations that must be taken into account as AI becomes more deeply embedded in the gaming industry. So I see the first question in this section related to Jay. So I would like to ask you, Jay, about what are the primary ethical concerns surrounding the use of AI in video games? Especially, I think it would relate to your job as a sound engineer in the gaming industry. It would make sense for you uh, to talk about these ethical concerns.
So the first thing I feel that so right now you have a lot of apps on the internet or on Google wherein they can create the voices and they can create the videos and the images. So the voice part is going to be problematic because they would be able to replicate the voice of the artist, and it would so happen that the artist would not have a right on their own work if it is not used properly, and you would have to scrutinize those parts and make sure that whatever voice part is used by the AI or it is AI generated, the artist gets paid for that part as well. uh, and uh, the content creation would become more easy, and I guess most of the companies wouldn't even need to hire the big artist or any artist that they wish to hire because of this part, as as they have a generated voice which can be used uh, uh, over various platforms, and it can be used in every part of the media. uh, that might not put people's job on the line, but yeah, that is going to create a lot of problem wherein uh, uh, wherein wherein the artist has given a consent to use his voice, like they have used it without his consent. So these are
Thank you
going
so
to
much,
be,
Jay.
yeah.
I think your voice is being a little bit interrupted, so
Okay.
we're trying to fix this issue. Uh, Meanwhile, I want to ask the next question from you, Hamid, if you're still in the chat. So, how can video game companies ensure compliance with copyright laws when using AI-generated contents? How do you think about it?
Uh, Honestly, I want to, introduce you for a little bit different perspective. I'm trying to tell you about, what we are talking right now. It's about industry and mainstream. Uh, in that sense, technically speaking, ethical concerns are not so much valid. It's not such a valid concern.
Mhm.
If we, trying to understand AI at the point it's right now or at the next 10 years, the main thing we have to understand is AI, as I said, right now or in the future, and the way they plan it to be, is an individual entity who learns things. So let's say if, as an artist, if you had a cloud and I am an artist, if I use your clouds and try to create another sort of cloud based on your clouds, that is, a legal issue. But learning from the clouds, learning from other artists, learning from other people is, it has a history of human as long as human history. So basically, I'm not talking about AI. I'm talking about any sort of, if we are talking in terms of, game development. Let's say in the game development, we have two sort of artists, technical artists and the, artistic point of view artist. All of these people, including me, all of us, the way we learned what our of the skills was the way we studied other artists, previous generations. So back to my previous example, let's say I am an artist, I want to learn how to draw clouds. So as a human being, what I do, what I have been doing in all my life, was to what I do, I start studying, other artists, best painters who could, draw clouds very perfectly. And I train based on those informations. And I get to a point that right now, if you ask me draw a cloud and maybe give me some specific, needs, draw it based on a specific design, what I can do, I can draw you a cloud. But the point is, this is not any, it's not getting involved in legal concerns. So right now, usually big companies, and I'm repeating again, I'm talking about the mainstream industry. They don't have, much of a concern regarding legal things. There are, some public sensitivity around the subject. Everyone, most of artists aren't happy. So what they do, they basically, and I'm involved with a few big ones. I have friends. I am, studying the topic very closely. So right now, companies don't have any concerns about legal stuff, because what they do, as I said, they are trying to train their own individual identity. As other guys said, like an assistant, they give those identities lots of information, so they can learn from it, not use it. And when this agent, AI agent, came to a point that who can held responsible for some tasks, they started using it. And like any other you know uh, advancement in the technology, people sooner or later people are going to accept it the way it is, and they then this sensitivity goes away, and they trying to use their tools. So back to your question, I don't see much of concerns, especially in the big companies, regarding the copyright laws, because as I said, they learning from a subject is not considered copyright. Using it is the copyright law, and they won't use it.
Thank you so much, Hamid, and what a profound vision to the topic. I appreciate it. So, Niraj, if you're in the chat, I would like you to answer the next question. But before that, I would like to give an introduction to this next topic, which is about collaborations and strategic partnerships in the AI and video games ecosystem. The development of AI in video games often requires collaboration between various stakeholders, including game developers, AI researchers, data scientists, technology companies, research institutes, and regulatory bodies as well. So, strategic partnerships are essential for driving innovation and ensuring that AI driven games meet the highest standards of quality and safety. This topic will explore the importance of collaborations in the AI and video games ecosystem, highlighting successful partnerships and discussing how different stakeholders can work together to overcome challenges and seize new opportunities. So, regarding this new topic, Niraj, how do you think can smaller video game companies benefit from partnerships with AI technology providers? And for example, just as an example, do you think that could AI one day fully create a video game to, help those smaller video game companies or those independent game designers, those independent game developers or whatever?
Yeah, so I think AI will definitely be able to create games. Good games, that is the question. Will they be good or not? Will they be fun to play or not? Because the thing is, fun is a very subjective matter, and can AI even understand what fun means, right? Like that is such a human thing, right? Like AI does not have emotions, not yet at least, right? And most of the fun that comes in video games comes out of these emotions, and AI cannot process emotions. So can AI create a fun game? It can try to create something mathematically fun, but in implementation, will it be fun or not is the big question. But can AI help small studios, to make games? Definitely. There are already great AI tools for animation. There are great AI tools for, like creating some reference concept and brainstorming, coming up with ideas, analysis. And this analysis is not just about, analyzing like written stuff. It's also about analyzing data from a KPI perspective. If you go to something like data.ai, which handles a lot of data about how games are performing, what is the daily active user, monthly active users, the average revenue, and things like that when it comes to free to play games, or even if you want to decipher data for your single player game, right? Like if you record a session where uh, you want to see if you're making a horror game, what is the point in which the players are trying, getting the most scared? If you want to do analysis through visual video analysis, right? Like eye tracking, uh, cues on the face, those kind of things, right? This is where AI can really help dial in that fear, dial in that emotion even better, because it can analyze things that human eyes cannot directly analyze. Which is, if you like, if you check out how AI is used in the medical field, right? Like it is used to figure out what are cancerous cells, which human eyes cannot perceive. AI is also used to figure out how whale calling and whale songs are communicating with different whales and different types of different species of whale. So like this is the kind of data where AI is like really good. It can analyze a lot of stuff in a way that humans cannot. So this is how AI should be used, to like make sense of things which we are not able to make sense of. Like if I tell you to imagine 10 balloons, you can imagine 10 balloons. If I tell you to imagine 100, if I tell you to imagine 1,000, if I tell you to imagine a billion, like we cannot, humans cannot fathom those numbers, because evolutionarily we were not designed to fathom those numbers. We are like, okay, how many can we count on our hands, right? That's where AI will be really useful to figure out data, to figure out things, and speed up processes that usually would not be able to be done manually, like like brain manually, but like with a manual processor. And then in the future when we get like or actually usable quantum computers, where and different models of AI, like LLM is going to hit a peak in a few years. That is where we'll need to figure out new models of AI. And this is where like the hardware stagnation is coming into the play. Like there's a lot of different things that are coming together to kind of put a full stop on certain things. But yeah, like right now where we are with AI, I think it's really great, and it can really benefit small companies, small studios, even individuals, right? Like when you talk about small studios, there are indie developers who work solo, and AI can definitely help them out a lot. Like it's crazy. So yeah, I'm really excited for how people keep using AI, and in the next 4, 5, 7 years, we will see games which have been made possible because of AI coming from smaller studios. Yeah,
Thank
so
you,
all good
Niraj.
there.
That sounds totally futuristic. So, Amir Hossein, if you're still in the chat, I would like to ask next question from you, which is about, how are different nations, different regions, or different markets responding to AI-driven innovations in the video games industry? How do you think about it? Like doing a kind of comparison between different areas, different markets.
You mean the potential future scenarios?
Probably, yeah, but
Mm.
based on a comparative study or comparative vision at least.
Yeah, I think I cannot just, it's not very clear right now, but what I think is that actually AI algorithms and also the world of the AI in the future could have a key component of competitive gaming in future, offering advanced analysis and also predictions. Even participant in the tournaments can be very different in the future for the gaming. And also, I can say that the realistic simulation in virtual world, that's at the beginning I mentioned, that imagine you have a Ferrari car with not paying so much money, just very, if you right now if you want to go and buy a Ferrari, it's very expensive, but imagine you have a Ferrari just a few dollars, and you can feel it as the same that right now the Ferrari can give that pleasure to you, and anything like that. And this is leading to new forms of engagement and entertainment of game industry, and I think. And the last, I think the AI can become more powerful and integrated into gaming and so actually metaverse also. And I think the data privacy, as the guys said, mentioned, I think it could be impact on the players. And I think I disagree, and I think it's data privacy is more uh, important at that time, and especially in mental health and also the privacy of data of users. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, yeah. Thank you, Amir Hossein. And I got a question from you, Hamid. Since you got a little bit philosophical vision, I think that it's nice to know about the key factors that driving collaborations between AI companies and video game developers. And also let us know that if you got any successful examples of collaborations that have transformed video games into AI in mind. If you've got any, you can share it with us.
So, you know, one thing, when we are talking about this subject, one thing we have to have in mind is actually two things we need to have in mind. First is the rate of, advancement is so high. So, back, as I said, I have been in this industry for more than 20 years. In early days, when I started to working in industry, the rate of changes wasn't that much. So I am one of those guys who, started working on 3D animations back then when, 2D animation was at the peak of itself. And it took 20 years till, right now we almost do everything in 3D animations. So let's say, it took 20 years for the change happens from 2D animation to 3D animation. But right now, this rate is crazy high. And one other thing we have to have in mind is main thing when it comes to usage of AI, and it's not just for the game in general, is nobody knows what's going to happen next. The only thing everybody is sure about is it's going to change the way we think. It's going to change the way we work. So with having those ideas in mind, what I think is first, going back to your question about collaboration between smaller studios and AI services in general. In next several years, because we see there are lots of companies, especially small companies, who still think as using of AI in old-fashioned way. Let's say, before AI, what was happening in a studio when they wanted to create a game? They hired one game designer, several artists, a few technical artists, and marketing and some other stuff to all of these guys come together to make the imagination of the game designer to come true. If we think of using AI in that style, and I call it old-fashioned style, in next several years it will be great. I already know, as other guys mentioned, there are lots of services who provide you with you can give them prompts and they give you models. You can give them prompts and they give you stories and NPCs, any other thing. So we can use AI in those fashion. I don't see much of it used in mainstream in bigger industries because they go in bigger companies, in the leading companies. What their goal is right now is to change the whole process of creating video games, and it's not the old-fashioned style anymore. Imagine I'm trying to give you a scenario based on the game. And I'm sure, and I know some of the companies are already, trying to make that. We don't have the capacity in terms of, hardwares, but we get there, very, very soon. So imagine a scenario that you enter a game. There is no assets, there is no NPC, there is nothing, just a void. And as you go through this world and turn your view, let's say turn your camera, everything gets created at that point. And this is the future of games with the help of AI. Right now we can, as Neeraj said, right now we can use AI as an assistant. We can give it lots of repetitive tasks, and with our supervision make it happen in a way that somehow works. But all of these are some sort of old-fashioned way of thinking about developing games. Future games, there won't be any models, there won't be any assets. We just go through the world and everything gets created based on what you see. So one of the thing, one of the limitations of the games at this moment is all of us, no matter how much they try to make it, different, all of us going to have same experience. A little bit different, but basically same. So when we play one title, all of us play one title, we are going to follow the main story. We are going to go in some, let's say, side missions, but the whole experience is same. What future games, what future of game development going to be look like is the experience going to be different. You know, let's say you use those headsets that an AI can, study your behavior toward the game and know. So what I think, we don't going to have any, old style small studios in this indie studios anymore, because all the indie studios right now, as I said, in old fashioned small and indie game studios, we just come together because we don't have that big budget. So, and we do most of the parts ourselves to make one small game. But in next 10 years, small studios, indie game studios, going to have totally different shapes. So a few people with, let's say, and they can have all of, they can have lots of backgrounds. So one game designer, one storyteller, let's say one artist, they come together, but what they are going to do, they are going to act as those, directors, game designers, the, let's say, masterminds behind the idea. And the rest of things going to, created in AI, and not just pre-created. Right now, game industry, everything you see in a game is pre-created. What they are trying to do right now is to, move from this pre-created era to an era that everything gets created the moment you look at it. And I think that's an interesting topic, and the prime, the possibilities are endless.
Thank you so much, Hamid, and that's quite scary. So
It's
now that
interesting.
yes, also Niraj, if you're in the chat, we are ready for your presentation, and I will show your presentation. You can go on. Just let me know if you're in. You can hear me.
Yeah, so I think the thing with my presentation, I think it's
If you can upload it, you can do it by yourself, and if you can't, I can put it.
I can share my screen directly.
That's your presentation, but could you please go ahead?
Yeah, okay. So essentially, yeah, so what I'm going to show in the presentation now, I already spoken about it a fair bit right now. So yeah, can you move to the next slide? Yeah, so firstly, what is game design, right? Like, I just want to make sure that you're on the same page. So, game design, for me, it's like the art of science of fun. It's a very absurd statement, but it's like, how do you create fun with numbers? Because essentially, that's what games are, right? It's just a bunch of zeros and ones doing stuff on your screen and making you feel things. So, what is game design? Next, next slide. Yeah, so essentially, like the 4 or 5 things that come together as game design, right? You start with an idea, like, okay, this is the kind of game I want to create. This is the kind of experience I want to give my user, my player, and then this is the kind of limitations I have for myself. Like I have this kind of capabilities in terms of development, these kind of capabilities in terms of art, sound. There are all these different constraints that you might have. So that is where you go to the next stage, which is the conceptualization stage, right? Like, for example, if you are a small team, or if you are single person or a group of like 3 4 people, and you have never created like an open world game like GTA, but you suddenly want to make like a huge open world GTA game, that's where you kind of go in the wrong direction. So you kind of have to go like, okay, I want to give my player experience of going through a world which is big, which is dense. So what can I do? Like, I want to create an experience of GTA, but what are other games that I can look at? This is where you kind of go into the conceptualization, and you start looking at what are the different games in the market which you can refer to, like Yakuza, for example. If you guys have played, if you like video games, you should check out Yakuza. Amazing games like GTA, but for me it's like better than GTA. So yeah, like you go in that direction, you kind of figure out, okay, this is the kind of concept I want to create. And then once you have that idea, then you go to the game experience, right? How will the game feel when I'm playing it? What are the different controls? What are the different features? What are the different mechanics that I use? Will my weapons be fast paced? Will my weapons be heavy? Will I have what kind of violence will I have in the game? What kind of driving mechanics will I have in the game? Right. So all these different things coming together as a game experience. If you want to look it up later, you can search this thing called MDA framework. I'll just write it down in chat. So this is essentially what we would use for the figuring out game design, like MDA, mechanics, dynamics, and aesthetics, right? And then once you have an idea, okay, these are the kind of features I want to build. The next thing is numbers, and this is where game design kind of gets a bit boring as well. You think that, okay, you are just going to be doing a lot of different ideas, but then these ideas, this is where the science part comes in, where there is a lot of math involved, and how does one variable affect another variable. So for example, if you played something like Dark Souls, the enemies in Dark Souls are like really powerful, and the player is not powerful. The player is not powerful. They will die in 2 3 4 hits maximum, at least in the beginning of the game. And even if you've played the game for 100 hours, right, you are still not going to have like a easy way through the game. You still will have to be cautious, and this is where the numbers come in. The numbers and the experience coming together makes you feel like you still have control in the game, and even if you keep dying, you never feel the game is cheating you. You always feel like it's a skill issue, and you can improve yourself and get there, get to the next part of the game. And this is where it kind of is the illusion of choice. Yeah, the player feels that they are choosing that, but the game and the number and the experiences coming together is engineering that illusion in your mind that, okay, you can do something, right? And when you bring all this together, it is what creates fun, right? Fun is not uh, fun. I don't think it's something that can be associated with one specific emotion. Like, fun is not happy, or fun is not sad, or like if you're watching a movie which is a very dramatic movie which has a lot of emotional depth to it, you can't say that you didn't have fun watching the movie. You would still enjoy the movie, and enjoyment is fun, right? So you would have fun playing a horror game, as well as you would have fun playing a GTA, or you would have fun playing Candy Crush, right? So like, fun is kind of a outcome of a bunch of emotions coming together. So yeah, this is essentially what game design is, trying to figure out, okay, this is what I want to do, and is this fun, like, and then every step in between. Next slide, Amir. Yeah. And how can I use AI to create fun, right? So like for me, AI is, it's intelligence, but it's also really, really dumb. Like, AI does not really know things. It knows information, but it does not know thing, right? Like know is like the know comes from knowledge. So there are two parts, like information and knowledge. So information is like a bunch of things that you understand, that you have in your mind, and applying that information in a way which is useful and productive is knowledge. So AI is information, and knowledge is where the human part comes in. So this is like where I say AI is a weirdly dumb but insanely intelligent partner. Next slide. And how I generally use AI is, for like brainstorming. For example, I want to like make up new weapons, which are something that has never been done before, and I don't really have the luxury or the time in a fast-paced development environment to research hundreds of games that have come before me. Right? So what can I do? I can just go to Chat GPT and I can tell it, hey, give me a list of the 100 weapons of this type of category from these type of games, and make it in a tabular format, and then it would be able to generate a huge list for me, and I can then use that list to make a more informed decision, and help me generate ideas. So essentially, anytime you would be working on creating ideas or brainstorming, you would be gathering references. So here, instead of me going to Google and reading through a bunch of different articles on different websites, trying to gather images and do a bunch of things like that, I can just speed up that process insanely fast using AI. And this is where my brainstorm and ideation and grunt work kinds of comes in together, right? Like I don't really want to spend my time doing research where I can actually spend my time doing game design. While I do, I do say, when I teach my students about game design, I do tell them that research is one huge aspect of game design, but this is where the knowledge part comes in, because I have been working as a designer for over a decade. I have that luxury where I can give AI very specific instructions where I know it will make the least amount of mistakes, and then I even and when it does a mistake, I have the knowledge to know, okay, this is a mistake, this is wrong, this is not how it should be done. So this is where like the grunt work kind of comes into the play. Like there is still some grunt work involved in training the AI model the way you want it to function, but it still takes, like, for a task that would have taken me 5 days, now it takes 5 hours, right? Even with that additional teaching AI part, it's still a huge savior of time, and this helps me become helps me do better game design, because now I have more time to solve the actual problems and try to iterate beforehand multiple things. Like I can come up with 5 solutions in those 5 days instead of one solution over 5 days. So that way, it really helps me speed up my process. And the other thing is data analysis. So, for example, if I want to figure out the patterns of what are the things that my users are purchasing. For example, if I want to, if I have a Christmas themed event going on, or if I have a Diwali theme event going on, or some other festive theme event going on, right? How does the purchase parameters of my users change during these festive seasons versus the other part of the year? Because I will have huge numbers of data. Like I'll put hooks in my game where the actions of users will be tracked, that the user is going from this screen to this screen and then making a purchase after these actions are happening in the game. So now this is a huge amount of data. uh, Usually what you would need is, you would need to make some proper data analyst sit on that huge data and try to make sense of that data, and it would take days. But now with AI, you can have a good data analyst sit with AI and get that thing done in one day instead of 10 days. So you are doing stuff faster, you are wasting less time. So there is the thing where it says that okay, AI uses a lot of resource and uses a lot of electricity, and it's not environmentally useful, like environmentally harmful. It is environmentally harmful. But in the same way, if AI can reduce the amount of time I spend from 5 days to 1 day, that is like the small net balance, like the carbon emission going down in that way. I think it's like a small kickback. It's still not ideal, but that's kind of where it's going. And then logic and code. So game design essentially is, like, okay, now if my player wants to jump from point A to point B, how does that jump work? How much force is applied? When can the player jump? When can the player not jump? Like those kind of things. There will be a lot of different conditions. So essentially, like programming is essentially like a big if else thing, right? Like it's just conditions playing one after the other. And I am oversimplifying it. Programmers in the chat would be really angry about this, but yeah, essentially it is like a bunch of conditions that you are using to define if something should happen or not happen. Like that is essentially what the logic flow pattern would work like. And this is where AI would be really useful to speed up that process as well.
Thank you, Niraj. We got another topic at the end of the session.
Yeah,
So I appreciate it. Thank you so
I
much for
just
your presentation.
just one minute. Can you just go to the
Sure,
last
sure.
slide? Like I just
Yeah,
have a
okay, that's
little
fine.
bit else
Go
to
ahead.
add. The last slide. No? No. The next one. Yeah. So just to this is something that I've seen a lot, especially my students and also my juniors do, is where they mess up how to use the AI. Like AI is a tool; it's not a crutch. Like if you cannot be completely dependent on AI, you have to use it as a tool. Just the way Photoshop will not do your job for you. You will still have to be a really good artist to use Photoshop to its best capabilities. AI is the same. If you are a designer, before you become a really good designer and you start using AI, you are kind of going to stop yourself from growing, because AI hallucinates. AI does not know what is true or not true. It is just a very very glorified and very very powerful text prediction tool, if nothing else, right? If I have to put it in a way like that. So it's a resource, it's not a replacement. So like when you are using AI, be cautious. Make sure that whatever the AI is telling you, cross check it, double verify it, because it might be lying to you, and it doesn't really want to lie to you, because it does not have a concept of truth or lies. It is just information. So information might be wrong, information might be right. So yeah, just to make sure, like be very vigilant about what AI is telling you. And yeah, that's all for me. Cool, thanks.
Thank you so much, Niraj. That was so comprehensive overview, and thank you so much. I appreciate it. So we got the last topic for this session. I will The last topic for this session is the cutting edge AI technologies and their impact on game development. The cutting edge technologies are enabling developers to create more complex and engaging games, pushing the boundaries of what is possible in game design. So, in this topic, we will showcase some of the latest AI technologies being used in game development and offering some insights into how they are being applied and what the future holds for AI driven innovation in the gaming industry. So, Amir Hossein, if you are in the chat, I would like to ask the last question of this topic from you. So, do you believe that AI will eventually take over a significant portion of the value chain in this industry as it is kind of critical? And what potential future scenarios could arise from the widespread use of AI in the video games industry? I would appreciate it if you can answer the last question.
Yeah, just wanted to say about the first. Actually, AI could, I think, enable in the new game development models, and small independent developers can create games that it's a great, I think, opportunity for the studios to just create games by just using AI. And I think for the business model, I think it's lead to new business models in gaming, such as subscriptions, in-app purchase, and these are that AI could definitely help, and in the future, for just cheating and all these things can be handled by AI. And for the last thing, I think it's AI could empower players with actually more control of their gaming experience and customizations, gameplay, and all these things, contents, and all these things can be happen in a game. And the last thing, I think, efficiency and creativity is also the something that AI could make for developers. That actually it's innovation. It's a new innovation in game industry that AI can handles this industry. And the last thing, I think, new new way that we think about the game industry is going to change in the near future. But I said in the last question, I disagree that just as they told that game industry can create new behavior in the games. Yeah, it's possible, but not today, not 10 years later. I think it's just we are talking about 50 years later. That's it's just like a Matrix movie that we saw, that new AI can control the games and just metaverse and all these things. I don't think it's gonna happen. Maybe next 50 years later, because um, right now we are just talking about the developments. We are not talking about um, new power of AI. And yeah, that's it. And thank you again for this chat. And
Thank you so much, Amir Hussein.
yeah.
I appreciate it. And just one more question I got from Hamid. Hamid, since we are a policy research institute affiliated to the Sharif University of Technology, and we're working closely with government agencies here in Sharif, and especially this series of events is associated with National AI Organization, which is a new organization, a new established organization in Iran under the presidency. So I would like to ask you about what policy recommendations would you have for game developers in the private sector and the Iranian government regarding the use of AI in this industry, and even more regarding the video games industry. Do you have any policy recommendation for the government or the private sector?
Uh, for the private sector, I think the main concept, the main idea is to first decide where in the whole, entertainment industry, what is our role, what the role we are trying to, play in the whole industry. And if we are going to play, if we are going to follow the mainstream, the whole, attitude toward, using and learning AI would be different than if we want to use it as, individual indie person. So, and as I said, I believe because the rate of change are so crazy, you can't, start planning for next, 2 or 3 years, because the moment you get there till you learn how to, work with things, it might be, the whole, environment could be totally changed. So the main thing is to, in the private sector, is to understand what AI is and how we can generate any sort of value with it. I am not talking just about game, I'm not talking about entertainment industry. Later on, if you want to be a part of any sort of industry, in our case game industry, the main thing you have to think about is to create a value. Because right now, because of the advancement in the technology, uh, you know competition is very high. You are going to compete against very, very big names with lots of budgets, lots of resources. So it all comes to your plan, to see what is going to be your role, and then go study the AI in that perspective. In terms of government, it's a tough question. We have a long history of not using technology in a proper way in our country. We adopt technologies, we are not using it very well, as history showed us in other sort of technologies. The main thing, I think, would be, instead of putting limitations and lots of concerns in the way of, in the hard process of, using AI, instead of putting lots of limitation in front of young people who wants to do something, who wants to create values, who want to create, generate revenues, instead of putting limitations, the only thing that comes to my mind is, not create boundaries for people. So if we create boundaries like any other, sort of technology in our country, if we try to control things, it gets out of hand, and people tend to go and play roles in other industries, other countries, and in the end we end up not having bright minds to work in the benefit of our country or our economy. So yeah, nothing else. If we don't put lots of regulations and limitations, people usually tend to find their way.
Thank you so much, Hamid, and thank you so much, Nairaj, Jay, and Amir Hossein. And thank you so much, you guys, for your insightful contributions. We're looking forward to keeping the dialogue. Stay tuned for our future events. Thank you guys so much. And I would like to thank my colleagues in behind the scenes. Thank you so much, guys. Take your time and bye for now.
Bye.
Thank